27th, LA County ordered all beaches closed.
CCP is announcing the first instance of person-to-person spread of the new coronavirus in the United States.
We all know why this beach is empty today. On the other side of the Pacific Ocean is China. It used to be one of the most fascinating places in the world. In the past 40 years, America had a long dream about this faraway land.
The United States will do everything possible to bring China into the World Trade Organization.
That you will be a more open society and you'll be a more open economy.
Now we are waking up from that dream.
China doesn't want the real story to be told.
And this will change how the world looks at China for years to come.
And for sure, we have lessons to learn.
Is it a natural disaster, or is someone responsible for it? When did the Chinese leadership know the virus could spread between people? Are they trying to hide anything?
希望大家帮帮我们。
现在他们在追我。
And what did the communist leadership do when the virus was spreading to the world?
It impacts us all.
How did they let that happen?
My name is Simone Gao. I was born and raised in China. Now my home is here in America, where I'm a journalist. We have to get to the bottom of this, because millions of families deserve to know the truth. We need to have a clear view of what really happened. This way, future generations can be free of this disease, both physically and spiritually. The virus started from this city, Wuhan.
武汉发现不明原因肺炎的流行病学调查，
传播途径未完全。
The rest of China was oblivious about the coming danger. Until this date. 9:50 p.m. Monday, January 20th, 2020. Millions of the Chinese people were shocked when they watched this on CCTV.
Exactly, Dr. Zhang. We have just come to the topic that involves human-to-human transmission. Several days ago, we could not confirm it. So after the meeting you just attended, what conclusion did you come to on human-to-human transmission?
In the past, we said there was danger. Now, the information shows it definitely transmits between people.
Dr. Zhong Nanshan is the head of the China Health Commission expert team investigating the outbreak, and CCTV is the largest state-owned TV station in China. This was the first time China officially acknowledged that the virus could spread among humans. The question is, when did the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, know about it? On April 20th, China's state news agency Xinhua published an interview with Dr. Zhang Jixian, a government-certified first responder. In the report, Zhang recalled her first encounter with the mysterious virus. On December 26th, an elderly woman was admitted to the Hubei Hospital of Integrated Traditional Chinese and Western Medicine. Dr. Zhang, director of the hospital's respiratory department, recalled that the woman had severe symptoms: fever, coughing, and shortness of breath. It seemed she had caught the flu or common pneumonia, but the CT scans of her didn't support this diagnosis. The next day, the hospital received another patient, the woman's husband, who had developed similar symptoms. Alarms started going off for Dr. Zhang. Knowing that the couple's son took care of them when they got sick, she insisted that he get a checkup as well. His CT scan also showed similar results. That's when it occurred to her, it can't be coincidence that 3 people in the same family had the same disease. She knew that the virus must have spread between them. So, on December 27th, Dr. Zhang reported this to the local branch of the Chinese CDC instead of using an internet reporting system designed specifically for infectious diseases. China had spent $4.2 million on this system after the 2003 SARS outbreak. In theory, top medical authorities could know about new diseases anywhere in the country within 2 to 24 hours of discovery. Yet, as a loyal Communist Party member, Zhang only revealed this information to higher government bodies in an antiquated manner. She told the party line to hide information from the public. She only hinted that something was amiss when she demanded medical staff in the world beef up self-protection. In the next 2 days leading up to December 29th, the hospital received another 4 patients with similar lung infections. They all worked at the Wuhan seafood market and all knew each other. Now that there were 7 similar patients, the hospital went on alert. At 2 o'clock that afternoon, a panel of experts at the hospital drew a preliminary conclusion. This virus could be transmitted among humans. Dr. Zhang told Xinhua that she repeatedly asked the family whether they had any contact with the seafood market. Not one of them had ever been to the market or had any relationship with it. After the panel, Zhang filed another report, this time directly to both the city level and provincial level CDC. Keeping in line with her party loyalty, Dr. Zhang instructed hospital staff to keep things quiet and to not reveal any of this information to the public. At about the same time, another group of doctors with very different views on public safety also came across the new infection. He is already well known as the martyr of the Wuhan outbreak. Dr. Li Wenliang was an eye doctor working at the Wuhan Central Hospital. At 5 p.m. on December 30th, he sent out a warning over a Chinese messaging app called WeChat. He warned some of his fellow workers that they should wear protective clothing. This was to avoid infection after 7 patients from a local seafood market exhibited SARS-like symptoms. His lack of political cunning was met with dire consequences. Late in the night, on December 31st, around 1:30 a.m., Dr. Li was called into the Wuhan Health Commission offices for questioning. After sunrise, his employer ordered him to write a letter publicly denouncing his own behavior. Starting from January 2nd, the party's mouthpiece, CCTV, continuously aired a series of programs condemning so-called rumor mongers. Anyone who had shared information about the virus fell into this category, including Dr. Li. The following day, on January 3rd, local police detained Dr. Li and forced him to sign a statement admitting he had broken the law and seriously disrupted social order. CCTV bashed Dr. Li before he was forced to sign that statement. Why did state media move so quickly and make such a big deal over a local doctor's short warning on WeChat? I spoke with Frank Chin, an expert on China and one of the most diligent observers of the pandemic. Li Wenliang only sent out a message to his colleagues on social media. Why did the CCTV have such a dramatic response so quickly?
To have every major CCTV channel carry out that sort of unified deployment, unified action style of public condemnation, then it wasn't a low-level decision. It was something that the highest level of CCTV management decided, and CCTV is the top mouthpiece of the CCP. It's guided by political and legal divisions. So from this perspective, it shows that in this event, the CCP already knew what was happening, and they made this coordinated plan.
Dr. Li's lack of political obedience resulted in punishment. Dr. Zhang, on the other hand, for her party loyalty, was honored by the CCP as the one who gave the first warning about the epidemic. Except her warnings were totally ignored and overridden. We'll look at the stance the regime took instead. On December 31st, the Wuhan Municipal Health Commission announced on its website that the Huanan seafood market was linked to several recent cases of pneumonia. They claimed that preliminary investigations showed no clear sign of human-to-human transmission. They further claimed that no health workers had been infected, and the disease could be kept under control. This stance persisted for 20 days, despite overwhelming evidence that suggested otherwise. More and more medical staff fell ill on almost a daily basis, as Chinese media outlet Caixin reported. January 5th, CT scans of Dr. Lu Jun from Tongji Hospital showed abnormalities. The Wuhan Health Commission declared there were no clear human transmission and no doctors infected. January 6th, CT scans of a doctor from Wuhan Xinhua Hospital showed infection. His hospital required staff not to spread rumors. January 7th, Dr. Lu Jun was confirmed with a COVID-19 infection. 3 days later, on January 10th, Dr. Wang Guangfa of the National Health Commission declared no infections among medical personnel. The Wuhan Health Commission repeated this on the following day. January 13th, 3 Wuhan nurses were confirmed with infections. The Chinese Health Commission told the magazine Science that there were no infections among the 760 medical staff in close contact with COVID-19 patients. On January 15th and 16th, 3 more doctors either showed abnormal CT scans or were confirmed infected. Yet the Wuhan Health Commission declared no new cases or medical staff infections. January 18th, Xinhua Hospital found 100 cases of CT abnormalities. 4 medical staff in 3 hospitals in Wuhan were confirmed ill on the same day. The next day, the Wuhan government proceeded to invite 10,000 families to a banquet in celebration of the Chinese New Year. 9 nurses were confirmed on the same day. January 20th, Dr. Zhong Nanshan acknowledged human-to-human transmission on CCTV. Not long after Dr. Zhong acknowledged human transmission, top leadership got involved. General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, purged 2 top officials in Hubei province and Wuhan city for mishandling the epidemic. However, in an interview, the mayor of Wuhan, Zhou Xianwang, revealed the tangled nature of communist bureaucracy.
About not revealing the materials about the disease more quickly, this is the point everyone needs to understand. Since it is a contagious disease, it had to be disclosed according to the law on prevention and treatment of infectious diseases. As a provincial government, we have to be authorized to disclose the information.
Just as Wuhan's mayor indicated, he did not have the final say on what to do. The decision ultimately comes from the top. We can confirm this from internal government documents. On January 14th, while China's health official publicly announced on state television that the risk of human-to-human transmission remained low, actions in the top leadership suggest a different understanding. And internal government facts obtained by the Epoch Times indicated that on January 14th, local CDCs initiated the highest level emergency response. The notice said that China's National Health Commission had already drawn up a set of treatment and prevention measures. They were in the process of passing them on to local health agencies. Some measures clearly indicate that Chinese top leadership knew the disease could spread between people well before the CCP publicized this information. For example, the document ordered hospitals to train staff on preventative measures and take steps to stop the disease from spreading among medical workers. But there's more. The Chinese military knew about the outbreak even before the Chinese CDC issued the prevention measures. This can be seen in this internal document from the Naval Engineering University. The January 2nd document ordered the university's security department to monitor visitors who were suspected of being infected with an unknown pneumonia originating from Wuhan. It further states that this order is to follow a Naval Engineering Department instruction, Series number 298, issued in 2019.
The earliest and most accurate intelligence came from the Chinese military. The Naval Engineering University producing documents like these implicates the Chinese military. They very likely knew about the outbreak and transmissibility in December 2019 or even earlier.
All these instructions were marked internal. Some specifically say not to be spread on the internet and not to be publicly disclosed. And so it stayed that way. The CCP kept the 1.4 billion people of China unaware of the danger of this virus for at least 20 days, and the timing couldn't have been worse.
为各位嘉宾和家人的健康
On January 7th, Xi Jinping ordered the information of the outbreak must not damage the atmosphere of a peaceful and happy holiday. And what holiday atmosphere was that? Right at that time, less than 2 weeks from the Chinese New Year, hundreds of millions of Chinese people had started heading home for the largest holiday in China. Trains, buses, and flights were packed. After all, it is the largest human migration on the planet. In Wuhan, the 10,000 people family banquet was still yet to happen, while 5 million people were leaving the city for destinations around the world. As 2020 approached, the United States found itself in a tense and rare time. For just the third time in American history, a sitting president had been impeached.
Article 1 is adopted.
The media focus was entirely on the impending Senate decision and if Trump would be removed from office. Anything beyond the United States borders seemed trivial. And that's right when the news of an unknown virus spreading in a far-off land quietly arrived at the U.S. CDC headquarters in Atlanta. According to an April 4th Washington Post report, the CDC learned a cluster of cases in China on December 31st, but this information was not provided by the Chinese authorities. In fact, it wasn't until January 3rd when CDC Director Robert Redfield received a call from a counterpart in China. The Chinese CDC told Redfield that a mysterious illness had been spreading inside Wuhan. We inquired about the details of that phone call to the CDC, particularly when the Chinese CDC told the U.S. that the virus could spread between people. The CDC did not respond. The rest of the world began to know something was going on inside Wuhan by mid-January. But the world wasn't told the severity. On January 14th, the WHO began echoing the Chinese government's stance of no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission.
It's very clear right now that we have no sustained human-to-human transmission.
It also recommended no travel bans. The WHO maintained its position about the unverified or limited nature of human-to-human transmission until January 23rd, 3 days after China publicly confirmed such transmission. Meanwhile, in the United States, on January 18th, President Trump was finally substantially briefed by health officials about the coronavirus. He had been receiving intelligence briefings before that, tracking the spread of the virus in China and later in other countries. According to the Post, the briefings did not predict when the virus might land on U.S. shores. It also did not recommend particular steps that public health officials should take. It did, however, warn that Chinese officials appear to be minimizing the severity of the outbreak. 1 week after that briefing, President Trump placed a travel ban on China. His ban was one of the first in the Western Hemisphere.
Lives are at stake. This is not a time for
Political opponents criticized him for overreacting and being racist for banning Chinese travelers. Only history has proven that this move was neither excessive nor early enough, after all. According to Veriflight, an aviation data company based in China, by mid-January, about 4,000 people had already entered the United States directly from Wuhan. In January alone, about 381,000 travelers flew directly from China to the United States. What's even more worrying is that after China locked down internally, outbound traffic from China did not slow down. On January 23rd, Wuhan was the first to fully lock down. All the remaining provinces in China followed suit before February 10th. Under the total lockdown, Chinese people could not travel domestically, but were still allowed to go abroad. In fact, while implementing strict domestic quarantine measures in February, the Chinese regime kept reassuring the world that the outbreak was fully under control, and it continued to encourage international travel from Chinese cities. Chinese state media Xinhua confirmed this on February 6th. They reported that 2 days earlier, the Civil Aviation Administration required Chinese airlines to continue flying international routes to nations that had no travel restrictions. On February 3rd, the WHO once again parroted China at the opening of the agency's executive board meeting. Director General Tedros supported China's assertion that all was well for international travel.
There is no reason for measures that unnecessarily interfere with international travel and trade. We call on all countries to implement decisions that are evidence-based and consistent. WHO stands ready.
According to Veriflight, scheduled international flight services from China did not face a significant drop-off until March 30th, while scheduled domestic travel was severely limited as early as February 9th. Why did the CCP conceal the truth about human transmission, then allow Chinese people to travel abroad? Did they want to spread the virus to the entire world?
The CCP always takes its political power as the most important thing. It also takes economic operations as extremely important, since economic operations guarantee social stability inside China, and thus guarantees its political power. So, in this process, the CCP let international flights continue their travel. That way, it could give the world a false appearance of stability, guaranteeing multinational companies would stay inside China. And to the whole world, the CCP gave people the false impression that it could control the epidemic and the situation. That was to avoid all of its foreign investment from vanishing, and all of its businesses going into upheaval. So, in this situation, the CCP did not order international flights to close down. On top of that, on January 31st, we saw that the CCP was aggravated after Trump ordered a temporary ban on Chinese air travel. The Foreign Ministry issued criticism, so that goes to show that the CCP takes economic profit as more important than human life. That's not just saying it doesn't regard Chinese people's lives, but the CCP doesn't care about any lives in any country of the world.
Like what we have discussed, there are practical reasons for their silence, like keeping up appearances so foreign investors won't get scared off. As to whether they had other more sinister intentions, such as spreading the virus to the entire world, we don't really know for sure. But what we are sure about is that the CCP knew in early January that there would be worldwide competition on the horizon for one specific product. The Associated Press obtained a 4-page Department of Homeland Security intelligence report dated May 1st. According to the report, Chinese leaders intentionally concealed the severity of the pandemic from the world in early January. While doing so, they increased the imports and decreased the exports of medical supplies. It attempted to cover this up by denying there were export restrictions and delaying provision of its trade data. High-ranking officials in Taiwan support this. Chen Qimai, Vice Premier of the Republic of China, spoke about medical supplies in a recent interview with the Formosa TV network. Mr. Chen revealed that while looking to place orders on face masks, he made a phone call to one of Taiwan's local medical supply manufacturers on January 27th.
I made a phone call to Huang Qingshan, the CEO of Non-Leo Enterprise, which is the manufacturer of non-woven cloth, and I was told that China had purchased a huge amount of non-woven cloth from India 1 month ago. So the masks are out of stock all around the world.
On May 14, 2020, the FBI issued a statement on a new investigation. China-affiliated cyber actors have been both targeting and compromising U.S. organizations conducting COVID-19 related research. These attacks aim to steal research results related to vaccines, treatments, and testing. According to the Wall Street Journal, U.S. officials stated that China and Iran started such attacks as early as January 3rd.
When I saw this news, what shocked me wasn't that they were stealing intellectual property, since the CCP is always doing that anyway. What got my attention was that they started stealing vaccinations on January 3rd. They gathered related research results. This confirms that the CCP knew at a very early time how dangerous this disease was.